And of course, these are factors which can help you to make informed decisions in as far as the timetables are concerned and so on and so forth. And of course, we are carrying on now. Now, without any waste of time, the topic for today is finance. And of course, we are looking at the price of a house. Whenever you are given a house, which is worth 895,000 rands with the deposit of 15% there. Excuse me. Now, this is the house and this is the value of the house. But at the same time, we are informed that you may also pay the deposit, and the deposit in this case will be 15%. Now, the key question that arises is that what is the value of the sale price? So if you want to answer the question, what is the value of the sale price, you may look at the 4 possible answers that are given. And to this extent, you can see that we have 895,000, 132,400, 760,000, 750, and the last one there is 993,450. So those are the 4 possible answers. And for you to make an informed decision, you need to constantly check the information that is given. And of course, you can see that 895,000 is given as your price, the sale price. Now, so this means that the first one, the A, the one that is highlighted in white, that will be your sale price in the house. You can see it's reflected there. So these are some of the questions that you should be able to answer in as far as this topic is concerned, if you are given such a topic or if you are given such a question. Now, we proceed to look at the second one. And of course, in the second one there, you can also see that we want to calculate the deposit. So basically, in this case here, we are trying to calculate the deposit. Remember that the deposit is given as 15%, and some of the learners may not know what is the value. If someone says pay 15% deposit, how much are you going to pay? So if you don't know how to calculate the percentage, you may actually pay more or less, or in some unscrupulous businesses, you may be charged more money if you don't know how to calculate. So it's very important that you know that the whatever amount that you'll be requested to pay as a deposit is the correct amount. So for you to determine whether it is the correct amount, you must then multiply and of course the formula there. So you can say that 15% of 895,000, and that will be the same as 15 over 100. And of course, you multiply that by 895,000. Thereafter, what you can do, you can proceed to divide 15 by 100 to get 0.15. And of course, once you multiply 0.15 with 895,000, then you'll see that your value will change. And of course, your value there will be 132,450. Now, at this point, it should be very clear indeed that once you pay the amount and you subtract it from the original amount, because remember, once you pay a deposit, then this means that you have to subtract this deposit from the original amount. Now, the original amount in this case is 895,000. So as I've just indicated, you have to now subtract the deposit from the original amount. And of course, once you do this, you'll see that you'll be left with 760,750. So what happens now that you have paid the deposit? Then the remaining amount will be known as the loan amount. Why do we call it the loan amount? Because that is the amount which the bank may finance. So in other words, you may have to apply for a bond or a loan through the bank, which can be paid on a monthly basis. So as we carry on with the lesson, you will see how we will find a way to calculate the monthly repayments, which should definitely help you in as far as this topic is concerned. And of course, those are the three things that you need to do. But do not forget that for everything that you need to do, if you are going to calculate the loan amount, then this means you will have to look at the interest rate. So it's very important because every loan has got its own interest. So now you are going to look at the interest rate, and then you can just calculate and see for yourself how much are you going to pay in as far as the loan is concerned. And of course, you will use the interest rate, which is now 11%. So that is the amount or the rate that you are going to use to calculate the loan amount. The loan amount will not remain the same. It will skyrocket. The reason being, usually you look at the length as well, the length of the loan. And in this case, we are also given the length or the loan length, which is 20 years. So you can see that 20 years, it's quite a long period of time. And of course, you have to now pay your interest on a monthly basis. And it is calculated at 11% per annum. This actually means you check if you're going to make your payments on a monthly basis, you check your months, how many months are there in 1 year. So we know that 1 year consists of 12 months. So there will be 12 months in a year. This therefore means that you'll have to multiply the 12 by 20, which will probably give you 240 months. So in 20 years, there are 240 months. So you'll see as we carry on the impact of the interest rate in as far as this particular topic is concerned. Right? And of course, we are going to move. We have now calculated the deposit. We know what the deposit is. We have looked at the sale price, and we have now looked at the loan amount. Remember, the loan amount is still raw. The interest has not yet been added. So in the next slide, we will take the matter a bit further. But before we do that, we just want to now calculate the interest that has to be paid on a monthly basis. And you can see that we are going to calculate the interest. For the first month, all that you need to do now is to take the loan amount and then you multiply that by 0.11. 9166, and that will be your 11% per annum. And remember that when you calculate the percentage there per annum, it will be 11%. And of course, you can divide that by 12 months, right? So if you take 11% and then you divide it by 12 months, you'll be able to see that it will give you around 0.91666. So all that you need to do is to remember that we want the first month. So to get the first month, you take the whole loan amount, but you have to multiply that by the interest rate. The interest rate is 11%. So you may wonder, where do we get the 0.9119166? It means we have divided the 11% by 12 months. So it gives us 0.916666%. So it's still a percent, which again, you'll have to divide by 100 if you are going to calculate. So remember, this calculation has to be performed every month on the balance in the account. So because it will change with the interest, right? You will see that we have looked at the different amounts there, and we saw that we had about 4 possible answers. The first one being 11%, because they want to know the amount. So you cannot say 11% because 11% is the interest. Now we want the monthly amount that you are going to pay. So you will see that the monthly amount will be 6,973. So if you multiply 760,000 by 0.91666%, the answer that you'll get there will be 6,973 rands and 54 cents. So this means this is the amount that you'll pay in the first month, remember, because in the first month, you are charging interest on the whole amount there. All right, so the interest that you'll pay will be on the very first month, and this is how we've calculated the interest. And now we can now proceed to the next one there, just to see. Remember, the loan, as I said, will be running for 20 years. I'm not so sure now if there's a question before one can proceed in as far as calculating the interest rate is concerned. And of course, there we are. We have now the monthly amount, but that is the first month. The interest is calculated on the first month. We are still going to show you how to calculate interest for the remaining or the remainder of the loan period. And of course, we can see that now that the loan will go or proceed for a period of 20 years at the same interest rate, which is 11%, we can calculate the monthly repayment now. We've calculated the first one there. And here we are now showing you the different options. And of course, you can see that the correct option there is now 7,850 rands and 94. How do we proceed with a monthly, the amount that must be paid to the bank? Usually, the monthly repayments are not just calculated. There's something called a loan factor or factor value. If you look at this table here, you can see that the factor is obtained from a table of values such as this one. If you look at the loan period here, it's 15 years, 20 years, and 25 years. And of course, you also have your interest rate in bold. The first one there is 10%, 10.25%, 10.5%, 10.75, right up to 12%. So now those are the interest rates. And then, of course, the values that are found in the spreadsheet there or in the table, these values from 10.75 right up to 10.53, those values are called factor values. Those are factor values. And where do they fit in this whole process? When you do your monthly repayments, or when you want to calculate the monthly repayments, you will use the factor value just to calculate. For instance, you can see there's a formula here for monthly repayments, and this is given, you take the loan amount, you divide that by 1,000 times the loan factor or the factor value. So that's how you you find your monthly payments. You take the entire monthly amount and then you divide that by 1,000, which is multiplied by the loan factor. So let's say, for instance, you look at the monthly, because some people may want to know, how did we find this answer here? How do we know that this will be now the monthly repayment? So you simply, excuse me, you simply take the whole amount, which you are now going to divide by 1,000 multiplied by the factor value. And the factor value in this case, excuse me, the factor value in this case will be 10.32. That will be the factor value. And of course, this will always be larger. You'll see that the amount will always be larger than the first interest or the first month's interest, because it covers all of the interest and a little more, which reduces the balance owed. So definitely this will increase as compared to the first month. Remember, we have calculated the first month. I've shown you how to do so. And of course, this one here is the monthly repayment over a period where we use the factor values. So remember, the factor value is important. Say, for instance, your interest rate can change, for instance, during the course of the loan period. So if the interest rate changes, then even your factor value will go down, and that will affect your monthly repayment. So you have probably heard of the interest rates when the South African Reserve Bank increases or decreases the interest rates. And you will hear that some people will be happy when the interest rates are reduced. That is for the simple reason that even your monthly repayment of your car or your bond will be affected. So you will not pay more. But when the interest rates are high, then you will definitely pay more. Right. I'm just going to carry on now. Excuse me, just to look at the loan amount. And of course, we have another loan amount here, which is 1,520,350. And of course, the interest rates there calculated as 8.5%. And those are the interest rates. Now, whenever you have to calculate the anything, or you want to check the factor. In this case, for instance, we want to know which factor are you going to use in the table? Who can tell me now if you want to choose a factor there? There are different answers there, 10,32, 8,68. There's also 9,44, 8,05. Which one is the right factor to choose when you are buying a house of 1,520,350 and the interest rate is 8.5%? So I just want you to tell me which factor are we going to use in the table there. So we have got about many factors there, but I just want you to choose the correct one and tell me why have you chosen that factor. Can I ask Mihle this morning once again just to check the factor that you are going to use when you buy a house of that nature? Just look at the table. There are some factors there. Before I lose you out, I just want to make sure that we are in the same page. Mihle, let's go now to another participant. All right. Let me try and, okay. Mihle, you can unmute yourself if you can, or Nompilo. Can we go to Nompilo? Just tell us what will be the factor, what will be the factor value that we can use in as far as this topic is concerned. Can you see the factor value? Right. The factor value, the way you find it, you simply look at the interest rate there. And the most important thing, again, is the number of years. So you can see that in this loan amount, the number of years is 20 years again, and the interest rate is 8.5%. Now, you simply go to 8.5% there, and then you look at 20 years, and then you go down to 20 years. And you can see that in this case, 8.5% in 20 years corresponds with 8.68. You can see there we have 8.68. So the correct factor value there will be 8.68. That is the factor that corresponds with 8.5% and 20 years. So that's very important. Remember, if you use the incorrect factor, then that will obviously affect your entire loan repayment. Say, for instance, a mistake is made, and instead of using 8.68, you use let's say 8.05. Now remember that you multiply this by 1,000, and this is in the denominator. So this means if you make a mistake and put in 8.05, that will definitely affect your repayment. Your monthly repayment will be higher because your factor will be low. So the lower the factor, the higher the repayment, the monthly repayment. Take, for instance, a loan which can be paid in 5 years. You can see the factor there is 20.52. Now, if the factor is 20.52, this therefore means that your monthly repayment will be affected as well. And of course, it will be reduced, in fact. Your monthly repayment will be reduced because the factor will be reduced. It's just the same as 1. Let's say the denominator is 4, and if the denominator is 2. So 1/2, if it's half, and 1/4 is quarter, and between quarter and half is bigger. So meaning that if you divide by a smaller number, then you get a bigger value. But if you divide by a bigger number, the value becomes smaller. So if you are going to pay in 5 years, then you'll see that it will definitely affect your repayment there as well. Right? We are now going to determine the real cost of the loan if we are given the factor of 10,32. Remember, just before we carry on with this example, we have got our interest rates. And of course, we spoke about, if you look at the same table here, our interest rate is 11%. Now, for a period of 20 years, the factor value is 10,32. So you can see that our factor value there is 10,32. And this is something that we need to use when we calculate the value of the repayment. Now, the question says, determine the value or the real cost of the loan given 10,32 as the factor. By the way, we are still working with the same house, same value, same deposit of 15%. And of course, the length of the loan is 20 years. So the interest rates in this case remain 11,0% per annum. Now, how do we determine the real cost now of the loan? So we want to know how much will this entire loan cost you. So you are going to calculate the real cost as follows. You will multiply the monthly value, which we have calculated, by 20 years. And remember, every year consists of 12 months. So that will be 20 times 12 months, which will give you 240. So there will be 240 months in 20 years. So meaning that your monthly repayments, you'll have to have 240 installments or monthly repayments. Now that we have calculated, we have used remember we used the factor value to find the monthly repayment, and we said the monthly repayment is 7,850 rands and 94 cents. So if you multiply this by 20 and then you multiply in 10 by 12, that will give you 1,884,225 rands. And this is the amount that you'll need to pay going forward in as far as this particular activity is concerned. Right? That will be the total amount. So you need to remember the importance of calculating this. So can you see that now the loan of the remaining balance there, which was 760,750 rands, it has now drastically increased. So your loan is now 1 million, it's more than 1 million rand. So that 750,000, if you now compare it, if you now want to compare this with your loan amount, or in fact, your entire loan amount, now that we have charged interest, you can actually see that this constitutes about 40%, of the entire amount. So your loan amount there, which was now 40% of the total, it means now you have added another 60%. you know. So it, in order to have 1,884,000 rands. Now it has increased. In other words, it has ballooned. The reason being you are paying for too long. You are paying this amount for too long. And it is for this reason that you will obviously pay more. So the longer it takes, then you'll pay a lot of money there. Now we are going to check the interest which is paid on this loan, and we want to calculate that interest. Now you will see that in order for you to check what the interest is, you simply take the total, which we have now calculated, and then you subtract the original loan amount. So you will see that in a house of this nature, you will pay 1,123,475. So you'll actually pay more in this case. You'll pay a lot of money. You'll pay more on this house than someone who bought the house cash. If you had bought the house cash, you would have paid just 895,000 rents. And now you can see that, if you paid via a bank, if you take a loan, it will increase because it will come to 1,884,225 rents and 60 cents. So if I may ask you, what is the difference? How much would you have saved if you bought the house with the original price? That is the question that I want to pose to you this morning. How much were you going to save had you bought the house on a cash basis? Meaning that if you had paid cash for 895,000 rands, if you took the house without a bond, if you just purchased it, how much were you going to save? Is there anyone who can tell me how you calculate this? You simply take the 1,884,225 and then you subtract the original amount there. You subtract the original amount. So in this case, we were looking at the loan amount. Remember, there's an amount which you have already paid, and that amount was 15%. So if you add the 15% there, you'll be able to see that you could have actually saved more than 900,000 rands in value there. And to be specific, you would have saved 989,225 and 6 rands, 25 rands there and 6 cents. Sorry. That is the amount that you could have saved. 989,225 rands and 6 cents. That is the amount that you could have saved. So you can see that the interest rates will play a huge role in any transaction. Now let us go to the factors that can affect the total which is owed on a loan and listed below. Choose the correct answer there. What are some of the factors which can affect the total amount that is owed on a loan? We have 4 different factors there. The first one is a deposit, followed by the interest rate, followed by the loan length. That is the amount of time that it takes to complete your loan. And the last one is the compound interest. Now you can be able to see here that the compound interest will definitely be the correct answer there. So we are looking at the incorrect factor there. So compound interest rate, will not affect the loan, the amount owed on a loan. But the deposit will definitely affect the amount, in a sense that the higher the deposit, the lower the loan the loan amount. I'm sure that you will agree with me that had you paid more than 15%, let's say 30%, for instance, then that will reduce your loan amount. So it does have a barrier or an impact on the total amount which is owed on a loan. Once again, the interest rates also affect the loan, because if the interest rates are higher, then your amount will also be high. And of course, if the interest rate is lower, the loan amount will also decrease. So those are some of the factors which affect the total amount which is owed on a loan. And the last factor, of course, is the loan length, the number of years. If you take too long to pay for your loan, you may definitely pay for you'll pay more as well, because remember, when you calculate your monthly repayment there, you multiply it by the number of years and of course the months as well involved. You'll recall that in 20 years you have about 240 months, unlike in 10 years, which is now 120 months. And of course, if you reduce it to 5 years, it will bring you to 60 months. So 5 years is the same as 60 months. It will actually, you'll pay less. But of course, your monthly installment might be more, but the total overall loan amount will be less if you reduce the number of years. Right? And of course, you can see here we have a statement which you need to analyze. It says that the shorter the period of the loan, the shorter the amount of time to earn interest. Is this a true statement or false? So if the loan period is short, then even the time will be shorter, to earn interest. The answer is yes. That is the correct answer there. The shorter the loan period, the shorter the amount to earn interest. So the interest will be lower if the time period is also low. Right, and then of course, we will carry on to look at the factor, which is the loan length versus the monthly repayments. We say here that the shorter the period of the loan, the shorter the amount of time to earn interest. That is the statement which we have done so far. So let's give you this scenario. If the life of the loan has changed from 20 years to 15 years, what is the effect? The effect is that the life of the loan shortens and the monthly repayment increases. So you can see that even though your total loan amount will decrease, but your monthly repayment has to increase. You have to pay more on a monthly basis. And how do you calculate it? You can see there that, for instance, we have taken the factor value of 11.37, and then we divide that by, we multiply that by 1,000. And of course, when we divide the two there, you'll be able to see that your monthly period will increase. So it will definitely increase. And of course, this will become 8,649 rands and 73 cents. And that is how you will calculate the monthly amount. Remember, the first things first, you take your 760,000 and then you divide that by 1,000, and thereafter you multiply the value by the factor there, 11,37, and of course that will definitely increase your monthly repayment. So the total cost will be 180. You multiply that with the monthly. Why do you multiply by 180? Because in 15 years, you will have 180 months. Remember, I said 5 years gives you 60 months. And then, of course, if you multiply 60 by 3, you get 180. Remember, 15 years, that's 5 times 3. And then you add the original amount there, and then you subtract 1,395. You shall have saved more than 300,000 rands there. And of course, if you look at this graph, this is the original graph, just to show the closing balance on the loan. The left-hand side consists of the amount that is owed in rands, and this the X values there will be your number of months. So you'll have the vertical line there and the horizontal one, just to demonstrate how your closing balance will be. But the effect is as follows, that the effect of decreasing the time period on the loan is effectively the same as increasing the monthly amount. Remember, if you decrease the time which it will take to pay your loan, you are increasing the monthly amount. So if your loan was supposed to run for a period of 20 years, then it can now run for, you'll have to pay more once you decrease. So if you are going to now pay in 15 years, that will be different. As we have shown you, you will have to pay less. You will have to pay more monthly, but the whole balance will not be more, because the interest rate, remember, the shorter the loan period, the shorter the amount that you will pay. Now, the last one, the larger the deposit, the larger the loan amount. Is this true or false? The larger the deposit, the larger the loan amount. So this statement cannot be true, because if you pay a large deposit, your loan amount will decrease. If you pay, just take a practical example. If I have to give you a loan, let's say that you are buying a cell phone, and the cell phone costs you about 3,000 rands, and you have to pay some deposit there. If someone pays the deposit of 50%, which is 1,500 rands, obviously your loan amount will be 1,500. You'll have to pay interest on the loan amount of 1,500 rands, because you have paid the huge deposit of 50%. But if someone pays, say, 10% of 3,000 rands, that is 300 rands. 10% of 3,000 is 300. So if you subtract the 300 from the 3,000, you'll be left with 2,700 rands. So can you see that the loan amount will be larger? So if you pay less, but the larger the deposit, if you pay the deposit of 50%, the loan amount will be less. It will be 1,500. So bear in mind, as we wrap up our lesson, I wanted us to also look at the next scenario where a deposit is made. So you can see that the larger the deposit, the lower the loan amount. So if you pay more deposit, then your loan amount will be less. For instance, in this scenario, instead of paying 15% deposit, let's pay 20. So if you pay 20%, it means you have paid 179. So you simply multiply your total cost and you'll see that you will save 291,425. Once more, you can see that the closing balance on a loan, due to the lower initial loan amount, the graph will decrease faster. Once more, the lower the interest rate, the lower the amount charged on a loan. Yes, this one is true. If the interest rates are low, then the loan amount as well will be low because the interest rate will be low. Factors that affect the amount owed, you can see the interest rate actually affects. If the interest rate drops to 10% due to lower interest rates, then your loan that you are still going to pay, it will still be in 240 months, but at least your monthly payment is less. You can see how have we calculated. We take the factor there, the loan factor, and then you divide the loan amount by 1,000 and then you multiply it by the factor. So you'll pay 7,341 as compared to the 8,000 that you were paying. Once again, the curve shows that although the time period is the same, but the graph has a lower curve than the original, and this means you are saving over the life of the loan. Our time is actually up. Let us make sure that we visit the Africa Teen Geeks website for more information. But of course, you can also reach us on our Twitter page at Africa Teen Geeks. And of course, this lesson was brought to you by the Lockdown eSchool in partnership with the Sasol Foundation. Until we meet again on Monday, thank you very much indeed.